25.
Dear Maestro, what are your impressions from the Sofia Philharmonic Orchestra?
I'm here the second day, so until now it's wonderful. And I have no reason to say it's probably not more wonderful tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Everything went very well. Wonderful musicians, very attending the music, really good colleagues helping and playing well. That's the most important message I got from the orchestra.
Please tell us about the concert program that you will conduct.
Yeah, it's a little bit outstanding, I would say, because not everyone expects a combination of Haydn-Mahler. But in the second step, everyone who is interested about recognizing programs say, oh, it's not usual, but it's very logic. So Haydn, the next line is Schubert. The next line after Schubert is Bruckner. And Bruckner's teacher was Mahler. So that is, of course, not a necessary, let's say, moment that you have to do it. Haydn combined with Mahler. But we have this still unidentified motive. Why was Haydn probably writing La Passione?
Why did you choose this symphony?
Oh, that was a wonderful result after the talk with your wonderful music director. We talked hours about this program. So that's why I always said we had the music director of this orchestra, we had myself, and we had the Corona situation. So these three moments have created this program to this time.
3 bars and then you play. On that.
What is most important quality of your profession and what is your mission as musician?
Oh, it's always simple and finally not easy to realize, even after 45 years on stage. We have to be true to the composer and we have to transport this to all of generations of musicians and students and other generations of conductor. Follow the composers first before you think you can make your own interpretation. Follow the composer first, and the composer will tell you the truth. And sometimes you need 50 times, 60 times, sometimes more than 100 times, with the same piece, with the same composer, that the composers open you a door you have never seen before. So this is the mission for a conductor, is never give up to look again into the score. You will be surprised what you haven't seen before.
What is the most enjoyable thing in your profession? Communication with the orchestra or?
Yeah, the most enjoyable is always to come the first moment on stage and both sides and the composer as well expecting the first tone. So, and with the first bar, usually you know automatically how it will be for the whole week.
You have conducted the best orchestra in the world. Who did you work with best and why?
I wouldn't bring this in a ranking. There are some not that high paid or sometimes really bad paid orchestras. They're also playing incredibly good. And marketing names, not only a warranty for quality. Of course, we have the big standard orchestras in the world. They still fight insights for quality day by day. But don't forget, let's say, how was it that Bach was becoming that great even in his time? Because not only he was a phenomenal talent and gifted and very disciplined, no, he was surrounded by unbelievably good composers as well. So that the huge family of composers let him grow, and people being focused, and he used them. So I wouldn't say there's a ranking. Of course, is something with in this area in the world, the orchestra playing more in a stylistic perfectly way. In the other region, they're playing also stylistically fine, but much more emotional. But even this, you can't bring in a ranking with a gold medal, a silver medal, or the last place of somewhere else. I wouldn't say this, and I wouldn't go into this train with you to find an answer on this question.
What stages does an orchestra have to go through to reach a high level? What is your opinion?
Yeah, the question is which possibility has an orchestra? How is the hall? How is the situation? How social safe is the orchestra? Did it have this orchestra a future in payment? So it is very, very fundamental things. Did the orchestra has a good management to transport the orchestra, to explain every good sides of the orchestra to the public nearby or nationwide or internationally? But you can see this on, let's say, a number of orchestras, let's say Dresden Staatskapelle or Bavarian Radio, or you see it in Boston Symphony, or Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. What can you see in all the orchestras? They have different sounds, still. And why do they have different sounds? Because they have an insight, they're teaching each other inside. They have an inside discipline. They're controlling themselves. It's not the conductor they have, it's the orchestra themselves. They do it for generations, looking for the children in the children's garden for music, looking in the music schools. So they have always fresh generations. They already trained in the sense how the orchestra wants to play. This is a very, very intensive process orchestras have, but they have this already for generations. And you can see the string sound in Dresden Staatskapelle is the string sound. It doesn't matter who is the conductor. Or the brilliance of the orchestra like Bavarian Radio or the LSO in London. It's the orchestra because they know how to play together and they engage musicians. They engage the musicians. How they want to play also in the future. So every orchestra finally is responsible for its own sound and own future.
And do you think the conductor is an intermediary between the composer and the audience, or an interpreter?
Difficult to say, because as we know the words by Stravinsky to a young conductor, dear young maestro, please don't interpret my pieces, they are already interpreted. So Stravinsky said, so it means do what he wrote, do follow his numbers of the metronome, follow the articulation, and that's what he expects. This is one possibility of thousands. But I think the conductor is exactly between everyone. So, and then the question is, how is the function? Is the conductor accepted by the leaders of the orchestra? Because the leaders, the concertmasters, they transporting his upbeat, his downbeat to the group. And if they accept you and they say, yes, that's what we need from him, then they follow you and they give it to the orchestra. So if this is not, then you don't need a conductor. So a conductor is both. He's leading and intimating. And sometimes he is only there to unify long distances. Yeah, like an operator. But just being there and focus everyone on listen to each other. Interpreting, this is a word, it's not fish, not meat. You can't really make an exactly mathematical word. What is interpretation? It's impossible. Yes. But conductors are sometimes very important and sometimes only important. And in some ways, conductor is not needed. So we have everything.
Do you feel like ambassador of music?
All we are. The last stand until the conductor. The last percussion player, last in the distance, not as a quality, as a number of quality. We're all ambassadors of music. And finally, we are ambassadors from our cities, from our regions. That's since we have orchestras. That was the fundamental idea that the bourgeois in different cities created, first in Hamburg, orchestras to say, look, that's can we do as the city of Hamburg. We have our own orchestra and they can play and everyone knows, aha, they are from Hamburg and they have an orchestra. They are ambassadors. So musicians in the orchestra are always ambassadors from the region they are coming from.
What do you prefer to conduct, opera or symphony music?
Both. There's also church music, That's symphonic, church music.
Do you have a favorite composer?
Yes, the composer who's on my stand.
In which country do you like the audience most?
That's a forbidden question.
And another question, if I may. If you describe your character with musical terms, who will they?
I only can say it as in German.
Okay.
Ich bin ungeduldig.